Part 43. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kiseun Jeon. Chapter 421. The weather in January is very cold. Lin Xian's body and mind are even colder, and he feels frozen. An uncontrollable fear rises in his heart. He is worried that his reasoning will be true and a virus that can threaten the entire city and even Dragon Country will appear. When Lin Xian told Zhou Lai his reasoning, the chief of the Special Operations Department was frightened by his younger brother's reasoning. We don't have much time. Lin Xian swallowed his saliva. Mobilize all the manpower that can be mobilized. Zhou Lai quickly took out his mobile phone and reported to his superiors. 10 minutes. Special Operations Department, National Security, Special Forces, set off. Come to City C as quickly as possible. Just a reasoning, do we need to be so serious? What if it is a false alarm? The question is, what if the reasoning becomes true, even if the probability is extremely small? There is only a 1 in 10 million chance of it happening. What to do? Then it will not be a matter of a few deaths, but thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions. Do you dare to bet? No one dares to bet. Lin Xian couldn't help but think of the horrible virus that appeared in the future. Because of that virus, millions of people died worldwide. How terrible! The Special Operations Department and the Special Criminal Case Task Force were going crazy. They were looking for people all over the city like mad dogs. Looking for the suspect who had appeared twice beside Cheng Jiaoang. The special forces arrived, and the armed police cooperated to start the city lockdown. The Special Operations Department, the National Security Bureau, and the local police began a carpet search. A magical thing happened. The suspect disappeared. Like Professor Wang Liangxiu, no one was seen alive, and no body was found after death. If one person disappears, maybe you can say it's an accident. Now another person disappears, how could it be an accident? Lin Xian's expression was solemn. Ordinary people don't have such means. City C is very big. But no matter how big it is impossible to find no trace at all. That's a living person. What did I overlook? Lin Xian held his forehead with his hand. The other party is not a civilian, civilians do not have this ability. What kind of person can avoid the investigation of the police, the Special Operation Department, and the National Security? At least it should be the level of special service, right? Foreign intelligence personnel. He thought that Wang Liangxiu and Cheng Jiaoang had both been to Kimchi country. At that time, he suspected something and found the national security to investigate. Now the hiding method of a certain suspect is very similar to that of an intelligence officer. He also has reason to suspect that it is a member of an external force. When thinking about his own reasoning, are Wang Liangxiu and Cheng Jiaoang both controlled? There is also a virus. Is this virus developed by Wang Liangxiu? Now there is another suspect suspected of having special service capabilities. Lin Xian's eyes were dark and cold, and he gave an order. Investigate foreign personnel, focusing on Kimchi country personnel. 1 day passed in a blink of an eye. 3 documents were placed in front of Lin Xian. One was a list and investigation of all Kimchi nationals in City C. They were all about the purpose of their coming to Dragon Country. For example, work, study abroad, visit relatives, travel, etc. One is the list of external spies that have been targeted by the National Security Bureau. Since they have been targeted, why not arrest them? Raise fish. It is boring to catch some small fish. Sometimes it is the best way to fatten them up and then kill them. You can also use these targeted spies to find other spies. Of course, their biggest use is another one. You can use them to spread some false news. Confuse the audience. For example, give them a fake scientific and technological information. What's the use of this? When they study according to this scientific and technological information, they need to spend hundreds of millions of funds and countless manpower and material resources to conduct experiments. Do you think this kind of thing is a joke? It's not. Longwo has suffered countless losses. Fighter jets, missiles, warships, aircraft carriers, submarines, too many things. In order to catch up with the United States, in order to build something more powerful than them. How much money, manpower, and material resources did Longwo invest? The biggest victim of telecom fraud, the bear, has the most say. I still remember an academician who was interviewed and said something. A group of scientists sat in front of the TV and saw that foreign countries actually said that certain data was fake. They cursed at the TV all night. Because they always thought that the other party's data was true. They tried their best to catch up, to surpass, and to create something stronger than others. There is a saying, where the enemy can go, I can go too. In the end, after chasing and chasing, it turned out that theirs was fake. We have been the world's number one for a long time. If it were you, wouldn't you be MMP? So if these spies are used well, they will have unexpected uses. It is better to keep and use them than to catch them. This is the ultimate kingly way of fishing. It's different now. For the safety of the whole people, in order to find those people. These spies must be moved. Lin Xian carefully checked the 3 files. I found that the people of the National Security Bureau are really powerful. Not only did they find out the identity of these people as spies, but they also investigated their ancestors for 3 generations. Since they have investigated these, they are aiming to wipe out the whole family. Since you come to harm my country, I will kill your whole family. That makes sense, right? Sure enough. After reading the 2 documents, Lin Xian sneered, the people of Kimchi country have been very active in the past 6 months. Indeed, they are very active. This kind of activity is very wrong. Kuoan found that the intelligence personnel of Kimchi country have frequently contacted the intelligence personnel of Sam country in the past 6 months. But the people of Kuoan could not guess what they were plotting. Then Lin Xian picked up the 3rd document. Wang Liangxiu's experience as a teacher in Kimchi country. 5 years. Wang Liangxiu not only taught, but also participated in 2 scientific research experiments and joined a certain experimental team. Because the research experiment has a high level of confidentiality, the people of Kuoan could not find out what they were researching. The question is, what is Wang Liangxiu good at? Virology. Something that can be asked to study. Did the answer appear? After Wang Liangxiu returned to China, he seemed to teach and educate people. But he also participated in one scientific research project after another. Lin Xian suddenly thought of a spy document he had just read. Kuoan used wiretapping to hear a conversation between spies. One of the words completion plan was mentioned. Completion plan? Lin Xian's mind was boiling. What is this completion plan? Is it related to Wang Liangxiu? What if? Involving this incident, is it possible that this plan is because of the virus? Completion, could it be a virus? Thinking of Wang Liangxiu in Kimchi country, it is very likely that he was researching viruses. So is it possible that the virus was not successfully developed when he was abroad? He continued to research after returning to China. The so-called completion plan is, to complete the virus. The mission of these spies is to watch Wang Liangxiu successfully develop the virus. And now, has the virus been completed? Can't wait. Lin Xian stood up instantly, with a stern voice, and ordered. Arrest all Kimchi country and Sam country spies. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 422. The night is like thick ink. There was a suffocating chill in the air. The cold moonlight shines on the ground, forming mottled shadows. A figure moved quickly in the darkness. The figure seemed to be about 1.68 meters tall, with neutral facial features. At first glance he looks like a man. Upon closer inspection, you can see that this is a woman. Li Zichen was panting rapidly while walking quickly. A pair of eyes kept observing the surroundings, wary of something. It seems that some unknown danger is approaching step by step. She is trying to find a way to escape. The Kimchi country's spy network in City C of the Dragon country is over. Countless companions were arrested. The entire City C has been closed down. Even those who manage to escape will be caught sooner or later. Li Zichen was desperate. She also knew very well why the people of the Dragon Kingdom wanted to go to war. Be more aware that all the routes come from high costs. But it's too late to say anything now. Longuo has noticed something. That terrible virus was discovered. Discovered her even more. According to the rules, since her identity was exposed, she should commit suicide. Otherwise, if she is caught by the people of the Dragon Kingdom, she will most likely be in pain and her life will be worse than death. But, Li 11 really wasn't willing to give in. She wanted to try and see if she could escape. She would never want to die unless she had to. Under the dim moonlight, Li Zichen fled into a dilapidated community. The buildings in the community are old, and they are all the tube buildings of the past. There are warehouses in the basement. After walking underground, Li Zichen came outside a warehouse and looked at a lock. Take out a magnet from your pocket and pick up the lock. Quickly knock on the lock. Click, the lock pops open. Isn't it amazing? The principle is to use the magnetic force generated by magnets to exert magnetic force on the lock core and lock body. Allows the lock to open or close automatically. If you have a lock at home, you can find a magnet to play with, which is very interesting. Many ordinary people don't understand it, but for special agents, this technique is common sense. Opening the warehouse door, Li Zichen quickly entered and closed the door. There is no debris in the warehouse, but there is a single mattress, instant noodles, mineral water, garbage bags, and a walkie-talkie. Mattresses are used to rest, instant noodles and mineral water are used to sustain life, and garbage bags are used to contain excrement. As for the walkie-talkie, Li Zichen picked it up and turned it on. Then, clicked twice. Wait until half an hour has passed. She picked up the intercom again and pressed it 4 times. Another half hour. Press the intercom again, 3 times. Sudden. A cold voice came over the intercom. Roger, in Korean. Li Zichen breathed a sigh of relief. Lie on the mattress and relax your whole body. It won't be long before someone comes to pick her up. Send her out of Sea City, out of Dragon Kingdom. Finally able to survive. About 40 minutes. A figure quietly walked into the basement and arrived in front of the warehouse door. Li Zichen in the warehouse suddenly sat up and touched his waist. A small jumping knife appeared in his hand, and he stared at the warehouse door. The warehouse door was slowly opened, and the figure quickly entered. After closing the door, he looked at Li Zichen in the darkness. Neither party could see the other's face clearly, but they could hear the other's breathing. Let's go, Korean, a man's voice. Li Zichen stood up, put away the knife, and walked towards the man. Sudden. A cold sword light appeared in the darkness, and it stabbed Li Zichen in the neck instantly. Click. Mars appears. The 2 knives collided. Li Zichen, who was holding a jumping knife, stepped back and yelled angrily, "Why? Don't you understand the rules?" The man's voice seemed to have no emotion. "The mission failed, you should have died, why don't you die?" A butterfly knife swayed with the man's wrist, playing tricks in the air. The man approached Li Zichen step by step. His eyes were cold, as if looking at a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. "No, you can't do this to me." Li Zichen's eyes widened, with a panicked and angry look on his face. She wanted to escape, but the warehouse was only so big. The exit is blocked again, how to escape? Her heart was filled with despair, but her eyes shone with unwillingness. That's when the man came to her, waving his arms. Too fast. It was so fast that Li Zichen couldn't even dodge. It also made her close her eyes in despair. Bang, click. The harsh and terrifying sound of bone cracking sounded. Followed by Li Zichen suddenly heard a sharp scream and wail from the man. Click, click, click. The continuous sound of bones breaking was terrifying and shuddering. It was like a ferocious beast chewing the bones. The man's scream stopped. Li Zichen opened his eyes and looked in front of him in horror. She saw a blob of objects, like a puddle of mud in front of her, slowly falling down. The tall figure behind him was revealed. A terrible, bloody, and violent evil aura emanated from the tall figure. It filled the small warehouse and made Li Zichen forget to breathe. She didn't know who this person was. But it can be clearly felt that this is definitely a more terrifying existence than the devil. No, she has already guessed who the other party is. It is a long countryman. Cheng Jiaoang did it, he attracted a devil. Without any hesitation, Li Zichen's left thumb quickly pressed the ring on the middle finger. As long as you press hard, the hollow needle can be ejected, and the venom in the ring can be injected into the skin. With the blood flowing, it will only take 20 seconds for her to die completely, and it will be impossible to rescue her. But the knife flashed. Click. Li Zichen found that her left hand had no feeling. Followed closely. The excruciating pain came from the wrist. Ah! Li Zichen screamed. Click. The scream stopped abruptly. Her jaw was broken. 2 fingers were inserted into her mouth to search and check her teeth. No. Despair swallowed Li Zichen like an abyss. The fear in her heart made her want to die now. But death has become a luxury. She wanted to struggle, to resist with her right hand and legs. The knife flashed again. Click, click, click. Her right hand and legs were cut off. Her neck was also pinched and lifted up in an instant. She looked at the other party with despair and pain as he took out a small bottle. Pressed the spray and sprayed it on her limbs. The blood on the wounds where her limbs were cut off quickly stopped and coagulated. This man, who was more terrifying than the devil, grabbed her and the people on the ground. It was like pinching 2 ants, no, 2 dogs. He grabbed their necks and walked out of the warehouse. He walked out of the basement and threw them on the ground casually. Zhou Lai, Wang Meng and others looked at Lin Xian. He looked at the miserable state of the 2 spies again. His pupils shrank wildly and his scalp was numb instantly. So cruel. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 423. A special interrogation room. Li Zichen woke up leisurely and just wanted to open his eyes. The pain in her limbs almost made her faint from the pain. Pain, heartbreaking pain, unbearable pain. Holding back the pain that was tearing through his body, Li Zichen opened his eyes. I saw a person standing in front of me. Just one glance and I almost choked. Because it was this man who, like a devil, cut off her limbs in the barn. After seeing his face, I finally understood a sentence. Angels and devils cannot be distinguished by appearance. This man looks more handsome, taller, and even perfect than any male star in Kimchi country. But it's a devil. At this time, Lin Xian was staring at her coldly and said concisely, identity and purpose. Li Zichen trembled and lowered his head. Are you still taking chances? Lin Xian spoke slowly and clearly, You should know very well what will be waiting for you if you fall into the hands of Dragon Kingdom security personnel, right? Pain burned Li Zicheng's body like fire, but his eyes were filled with collapse and despair. However, her expression gradually returned to calm, her eyes became extraordinarily bright, and her voice was trembling and hoarse. I don't want to die, I don't want to suffer, and I will say everything that satisfies me. Bang! One punch hit Li Zicheng's weak spot. With a click, several ribs were broken. Li Zicheng opened his mouth. No sound could be made, and even breathing stopped due to pain. Remember, you don't get a second chance to talk shit. Lin Xian retracted his fist, a cruel light appeared in his eyes. I ask, you answer. If you answer wrong, life is worse than death. Can you understand me? The severe pain stimulated Li Zicheng's nerves, tears flowed from his eyes, and he answered in an almost wailing voice, understood. Say it. Lin Xian's face was expressionless. I am Li Zicheng, an agent from the Dragon Kingdom Intelligence Station, an intelligence branch of the Kimchi country's National Intelligence Agency. Li Zicheng's face was distorted with pain. My mission is to assist the intelligence station chief in collecting Dragon Kingdom intelligence, operations, and assassinations. Why did you appear next to Chen Gao? There was a strong coldness in Lin Xian's eyes. Monitor, control. Li Zicheng replied in a low voice, execute him if necessary. Time seems to be paused at this moment. Lin Xian stared at her eyes, expression, and heartbeat, and slowly said, why do you want to control him? Because. Li Zicheng said with pain in his tone, he is Wang Liangxiu's student. He is very close to Wang Liangxiu and knows many secrets. Any secrets related to Wang Liangxiu need to be paid close attention to. Wang Liang needs and the success is high. Lin Xian said word by word, is he one of your people? Li Zicheng was silent for a while and nodded. In 2008, from the time Wang Liangxiu entered Kimchi country, we began to seduce him, becoming our downline and working for us. In 2016, Chen Gao came to Kimchi country for exchanges. We sent an agent to seduce him, and he became our downline. Lin Xian was silent for a moment. What is the purpose of controlling them? Virus. Li Zicheng looked ashen. It's a terrible virus. I don't know what it is. But, since 2009, Wang Liangxiu has been taken to the Sam country experimental base to participate in the project of developing viruses. Sam country experimental base. Lin Xian had a strong murderous intent in his eyes. You live in the Sam country military base in Kimchi country. Many people in this world have heard of one thing. In any country where Sam's troops are stationed, there will be some laboratories or experimental bases. As for what is being studied inside, few people know. Some people say they are studying viruses, some say they are studying biological weapons, and some even say they are studying genetic weapons. Ordinary people don't know the truth, but national intelligence agencies know, it's true. That country was founded by bandits and robbers. They are so bad and inhumane. Compared with the past Sakura country Unit 731, it is even worse. Therefore, this virus is caused by Sam country and Kimchi country, and Wang Liangxiu is involved. Was it just developed? Since Wang Liangxiu participated in a certain research project, why did you let him return to the Dragon Kingdom? Lin Xian had a strange thought in his mind, is this virus a genetic weapon? I have no idea. Li Zicheng shook his head blankly, I'm not at a high level to have access to the core secrets. But I heard that it seems that there is something that cannot be broken through in Kimchi country for the time being, and there is something missing that needs to be completed. Wang Liang needs to return to Dragon country to continue research. Complete the plan. Lin Xian sneered, so, there should be a secret laboratory in City C, right? Yes, there is indeed a laboratory, but I don't know where it is. Li Zicheng nodded without hesitation, but there seems to be some problems in the laboratory. Wang Liangxiu was detained more than 3 months ago. The intelligence station sent me to monitor Gao Gao's every move. If any abnormalities are found, he can be executed immediately. So. Lin Xian sighed, he is dead. Was he killed by you? He had calculated everything, but it was a pity that it was still a step too late. Confirmation is now available. What Cheng Jiaoang did was to attract the attention of the police, investigate the 3 cases, discover the horrible virus, and then find Cheng Jiaoang and the virus. No. Li Zijhan gave an unexpected answer, I didn't kill him, and he didn't betray them. He was very loyal to us. We even prepared real estate for him in Kimchi country, prepared a lot of money for him, and gave him everything he wanted. He was very satisfied and should not betray, and there was no reason to betray. I'm not a big reader, don't lie to me. Lin Xian was puzzled and surprised, staring at the woman in front of him. Confirmed, no lie. If it was true, why would Cheng Jiaoang do this? A name emerged in his mind, Wang Liangxiu. Lin Xian's mouth corners were unconsciously raised. He had already imagined a wonderful scene. The reason why Cheng Jiaoang did that was probably because he was deceived by Wang Liangxiu in some way, right? Moreover, Wang Liangxiu also knew that Cheng Jiaoang had betrayed his country. So he used Cheng Jiaoang to spread the virus and kill people. Not only can it attract the attention of Longguo, but it can also kill Cheng Jiaoang. It can also expose the secret of the virus. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The substance that can cause sudden cardiac death in Cheng Jiaoang's body was done by Wang Liangxiu, right? So, it was just out of his control. But you didn't betray the country, right? Lin Xian showed a happy smile on his face. You are really awesome, my Professor Wang. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Qixi. Chapter 424. Lin Xian walked out of the interrogation room. Zhou Lai, Wang Meng and others are all there. A director of national security stretched out his hand. Lin Xian shook the other person's hand. 8th round, He Shang Long. The other person smiled, nice to meet you. 8th Bureau of National Security, Counterintelligence Bureau. Responsible for the tracking, investigation, and arrest of domestic spies, as well as the collection of counterintelligence intelligence. You are happy too early, Lin Xian teased. He Shang Long. People around. This little guy is really skinny. Confirmed. Zhou Lai asked cautiously. The cold light in Lin Xian's eyes made people shudder. It's a virus, and there is a virus laboratory hidden in City C. Everyone's hearts were as cold as falling into an ice cave. We must find this virus laboratory, Lin Xian frowned in thought. But one thing is certain, Professor Wang Liangxiu is not dead. He has already experienced the intelligence of this professor. What if Wang Liangxiu really participated in virus research and development? Then the virus must not be completely complete yet. Because it's completed, it's probably his death. Wang Liangxiu disappeared 3 months ago and should be secretly detained. Why? Lin Xian's guess was that Wang Liang needed to complete the virus formula. However, the formula was not handed over to certain people, but was discovered by the other party. Then I thought of a way. The cost of exploitation is high, and the use of viruses has attracted national attention. He is saving himself and telling the country about the horror of this virus. But as long as Wang Liang doesn't hand over the formula for a day, he is safe. The other party will definitely not let him die. But now is not the time to think about that. How to find this virus laboratory? All the captured spies have been interrogated, and they don't know. The laboratory that can study this virus should be a large laboratory, right? Lin Xian sat on the curb, smoking and pondering how to hide in the city. For him, this kind of thing has touched the blind spot of knowledge. After all, I don't understand scientific research, let alone how to set up a laboratory. But soon, Lin Xian's wide eyes and face showed joy. He thought of something. Equipment. No matter what kind of laboratory it is, you must have equipment, right? Some equipment is exclusively used in laboratories. For example, Lu Changjiang once asked him to apply for a high-end electron microscope. Can this kind of equipment be used by ordinary people? Lin Xian quickly took out his mobile phone. If you don't understand, then look for it online. Searched around online. Understand what equipment is needed in the laboratory. Such as basic instruments, monitoring instruments, testing instruments, all kinds of equipment. Almost all the equipment is specially supplied to the laboratory. There are specialized suppliers and there are not many supplier channels. Because some equipment will be monopolized by some suppliers. If you want to build such a laboratory and study viruses, you must have these equipment. Let's use the most intuitive metaphor. In the entire city C, there are countless laboratories on the surface. The equipment required is also numerous. You can't directly transport equipment from abroad into city C, right? You must use domestic channels and domestic suppliers. Just find out the laboratories in city C related to virus research experiments. Find the supplier and check the equipment quantity. If there is an experiment hidden in city C, there will definitely be an extra set of equipment. Just check where these equipments are sent. Will you get the answer? Can we lock down the hiding range of the laboratory with a high probability? If you are lucky, is it possible to follow the distribution channel and find this laboratory? Lin Xian ordered to investigate the laboratory instrument supplier. Wang Liangxiu returned to the Dragon Kingdom in 2014. Investigate whether equipment related to virus research entered City C this year. It only took a few hours to find it. In 2014, a batch of equipment did enter City C. The delivery place was a certain district, and someone specially picked up this batch of equipment at that time. Later, his whereabouts are unknown. His whereabouts are unknown, Lin Xian sneered. This comes to his area of expertise. Criminal investigation. Find the truck driver who delivered the equipment that year. Ask the driver what vehicle the goods were picked up by after unloading them. Can the driver still remember what happened 3 years ago? Don't tell me, this driver really remembered it and it's hard to forget. Because those who drive trucks will also compete, there are luxury cars and ordinary cars. The driver remembered that when he came to City C, he was envious when he saw the other party's car. A dark purple Jifang J6. This car was very good in the field of trucks at that time, with a price of 420,000. How many Jifang J6s were there in the entire C city in 2014? 167 vehicles. There are 34 purple ones. All car owner information was seized immediately. Then print out the photo for the driver to identify. The driver shook his head and said he couldn't remember, and it was possible that these people were not driving at the time. Because many car owners who buy trucks hire drivers to drive them. The Special Criminal Cases Task Force began investigating the car owner and driver. Within half a day, 4 suspects were identified. Catch. In the interrogation room. A truck driver shivered and looked at Lin Xian in front of him. He was scared. Because he was escorted here by a group of special forces with guns pointed at his head. At that moment, he was still thinking, what the hell did I do? Don't be nervous. Lin Xian smiled at the middle-aged uncle in front of him. I asked you to come here just to ask you a few questions. The driver was panicked. What do you want to ask? 2014. Lin Xian said the time and place when the driver picked up some experimental equipment that year. Do you still remember it? The driver was stunned for a long time, tried to recall, and nodded. Lin Xian's eyes lit up. Can you remember? Yes. The driver nodded. When delivering the goods, I saw foreigners, 2 white people and 1 black man. Lin Xian's face changed. Can you still remember where the goods were delivered? Of course I remember, because the delivery location is very strange. The driver said, Tiaoma town, unloaded on the road outside the town. Lin Xian's heart sank, and he found something wrong. Countless police cars and military vehicles appeared in Tiaoma town and surrounded it. After a carpet search, Lin Xian also checked it himself, and there was nothing unusual. Got tricked. It's not that the driver tricked him. It was some people back then. Although they picked up the equipment here. But the laboratory was not here. It was a false alarm, Lin Xian frowned and thought. It means that the equipment back then should have been taken to another place. It should still be in the city. That's why Lin Xian noticed something was wrong. Because Wang Liangxiu was still a professor at Zongda at that time. He had to teach and participate in experimental projects on weekdays. And he was not young anymore. Could he run back and forth? How could the laboratory be so far away from the city? Suddenly, Lin Xian's brows relaxed and he smiled. Thinking of the 2 white people and 1 black man mentioned by the driver. Let's start from this place. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 425. Lin Xian began to investigate the foreigners who entered City C. The key point is 2 white people and 1 black person. In 2014, Longguo was not as open as it would be 10 years later. Foreigners entered the country and appeared openly in City C, and were also seen by truck drivers. This shows that the identities of these 3 people are all normal. Normal is normal, and the National Security Department must have an investigation record. In less than half an hour, 3 documents were placed in front of Lin Xian. The documents showed all 3 people had work visas. Workplace, a foreign-funded enterprise. The 3 people left after working in Longguo for half a year. It doesn't matter if the people ran away, the foreign-funded enterprise is still there. After investigation, this foreign-funded enterprise is not too big. It came to City C to invest in 2013. Leased a piece of land and built 2 buildings. The total investment is more than 35 million. It is invested and operated by investors from Sam country alone. Sam country, is it a coincidence? At this time, Lin Xian was standing outside the building, looking at the 2 buildings in front of him. Both are 8-story business buildings. Countless military police entered the 2 buildings. All the people related to the company were arrested, and then the investigation began. It took most of the day. Zhou Lai and Wang Meng came to Lin Xian with a gloomy face and shook their heads. The laboratory is not here. Lin Xian frowned and continued to observe the 2 buildings in front of him. His perception was telling him. These 2 buildings are actually dangerous. At this time, all the people in the building were taken out. He had also seen all those people, which was normal. None of them could threaten him. Why could 2 empty buildings make him feel dangerous? Lin Xian walked into one of the buildings, starting from the 1st floor, and carefully checked. 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th floor. When Lin Xian came to the 5th floor, he stopped. The perception of danger was stronger. Going up to the 6th floor, the perception of danger weakened. Lin Xian retreated to the 5th floor. Began to carefully check the 5th floor. A huge office, several offices, toilets, utility rooms. Searched everywhere. Not to mention people, not even a ghost was seen. But this floor made him feel dangerous. Lin Xian listened quietly. His super hearing did not detect breathing or heartbeat. What the hell? He continued to investigate in confusion, but to no avail. If there was someone, he could not hear the heartbeat. That only meant that the other party was hiding in a relatively soundproof place. Where could it be? Lin Xian slowly squatted down, like plowing the land. While squatting, he knocked on the ground. After searching for the third time, he still found nothing abnormal. There was basically no abnormality in any place that could be touched. Then there was only one place where the abnormality could occur. Lin Xian stood up, raised his head, and looked at the ceiling. The building height of the business building is about 3-5 meters per floor. But the building will be renovated, such as suspended ceilings. Lin Xian walked and began to observe the ceiling. He looked at it inch by inch, not missing any place. Until he stood in a spacious office. Standing in front of a desk. He looked at the ceiling above his head, and then slowly lowered his head to look at the desk. Starting from the ground, the height to the ceiling is about 3 meters. The height of the desk is 125 centimeters. As long as someone is standing on the desk, he is more than 1.6 meters tall. Raise your arms and you can touch the ceiling. Lin Xian walked to the desk and observed the floor. He found that the carpets on the floor were all traceless carpets. This kind of traceless carpet is not only resistant to dirt, but also does not leave any footprints when stepped on. Lin Xian reached out and opened the desk. His eyes lit up instantly. He actually found disposable shoe covers. Why would there be such shoe covers in an office? Lin Xian's eyes fell on the desk again. In order not to leave traces of shoe prints, he jumped up instantly, stepped on the desk, and looked up. Observe the ceiling carefully. After looking for a while, he smiled silently. Found it? He stretched out his palm to touch the ceiling. It was very heavy, and it did not open. Those pieces of ceiling were like a door, locked on the ceiling. Lin Xian thought of soundproofing. If it wasn't thick, how could it block his hearing? Is it locked from above? Taking a deep breath, the terrifying power instantly erupted in Lin Xian's arm. Then he swung his fist and hit the ceiling above his head. Bang! The entire ceiling vibrated violently. Crack! A thick iron plate was knocked over by Lin Xian along with the ceiling. A 1-meter square hole was punched out. In an instant, Lin Xian jumped up and drilled into the hole in the ceiling. There was a space about 1.5 meters high above. It was mentioned earlier that the height of each floor of the business building is about 3 meters to 5 meters. The space of the business building in front of us is 5 meters. Who would have thought that there would be such a space hidden above? And it was also soundproofed and isolated by iron plates. If there was any movement above, people below could not hear it. When entering the ceiling, Lin Xian heard 2 breaths and 2 heartbeats. And saw a person. Bang! Gunfire flashed. A bullet flew past the cheek of Lin Xian, who tilted his head. If he hadn't dodged quickly, his face would have been bruised. But the other party only had one chance to shoot. Just about to fire the second shot, Lin Xian rushed over and squatted in front of the other party. A white man, about 30 years old, with a gloomy and cold face. Seeing Lin Xian appearing in front of him as if teleporting, he just wanted to dodge. Bang! A fist hit his lower abdomen, and the whole fist almost sank in. The white man's body was bent down by the punch, like a shrimp. Lin Xian grabbed the other party's head and swung it upward. Bang! The white man's head had an intimate contact with the ceiling. Collapsed. Lin Xian picked up the pistol on the ground and took a look, his pupils shrank. P229. This is a pistol that is highly praised in the United States, favored by military and police agents, and has very stable performance. At this moment, bang, 4 shots per second. Bullets came. Lin Xian had already been lying on the ground, with a look of surprise on his face. Looking at his torn clothes. Just a little bit, and he was hit by a bullet and injured. There are too few people in this world who can play 4 shots in 1 second. And it is the ticket for every gun king. Such people are at least comparable to a soldier king. If they are special agents, they can also be among the ranks of senior and top special agents. No wonder they can bring danger to me. Lin Xian is happy. In an instant. Running with all four limbs, like a cheetah rushing towards the opponent. Bang, another 4 shots in 1 second. But the opponent can't even lock Lin Xian's body. The movement speed of the arm is not as fast as Lin Xian's movement. Even if you shoot 5 shots in 1 second, what can you do? In an instant. Lin Xian squatted in front of the shooter. A mixed-race black man, and a woman. Not bad, she is also a black beauty. Complaining in his heart, Lin Xian's palm fell on the opponent's face. Push forward, press down. Bang. Press the opponent's head to the ground and rub it. Blood splattered. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 426. Fortunately, he is one of us, not standing against him. Everyone looked at Lin Xian, who jumped off the ceiling, and then looked at the 2 unconscious foreigners on the ground. They were thankful in their hearts. As long as Lin Xian identified someone as a bad guy, regardless of gender, age, or young, it seems that they will be miserable. The most terrifying thing is that anyone who does bad things can basically not escape the field of criminal investigation. If you are locked by Lin Xian, you will die. Because he is the king of this field. How did you find them? Although Wang Meng had been convinced by Lin Xian a long time ago. But I still can't understand the criminal investigation ability of the little brother. No one can find it. How can you find it? Secret. The smile on Lin Xian's face is too professional. He started to show off again. Wang Meng was happy. Lin Xian, my showy operation is not a vulgar show-off, but a cheater's exclusive. Being flexible in mind is one aspect, and with the help of the cheat, it is invincible. The white man and the black woman were interrogated on the spot by the national security personnel. The people from the special criminal case team who were watching the scene found that their interrogation methods in the past seemed too merciful. Even Li Long, who came from the National Security Bureau, was much worse than these professional players. The National Security Bureau would use any method that could cause human physical and mental collapse. They only wanted answers, as long as people didn't die, and never cared about the process. This is why intelligence personnel would rather commit suicide than be arrested by security personnel. Because living a life worse than death is just an appetizer. The rest of your life will be miserable. In less than an hour, the 2 foreign special agents confessed. We are agents of the CIA's Science and Technology Department, mainly responsible for collecting scientific and technological information from other countries. This mission is to protect a senior executive who is the head of the research room at the military base in Kimchi country. We are mainly responsible for his personal safety and obeying his orders. We followed him from Kimchi country and secretly entered Long country through smuggling channels. As for where the executive went, it was a secret laboratory. We don't know the exact location, and no one knows that place. But we can roughly guess that it should be hidden in these 2 buildings. There are many terrible people around the executive, at least more than 10 super soldiers. The white man answered weakly. His body and mind have been destroyed to the point of collapse. Whatever you ask him, he will say. The black woman can still hold on, but she is on the verge of collapse. It's only a matter of time before she confesses. Super soldiers, everyone's face changed. It has been said before that super soldiers are combat soldiers. Like special agents and secret agents, they are called differently in different countries, and the training and cultivation methods are different. If 10 soldiers enter a city where civilians live and are not eliminated in time, when they go berserk, the destructive power will be too strong. Lin Xian didn't care much. He had killed more than 3 digits of soldiers. As long as those soldiers show up, he dares to kill them in seconds. The current task is not to target those soldiers, but the laboratory. We must race against time to find them. Because we can't be sure whether Professor Wang has explained the formula and whether the virus has been completed. If the virus is completed, some people will start to prepare to attack Longguo. The consequences will be disastrous. Lin Xian walked out of the building and came to the second building. His perception sounded the alarm again, danger. Lin Xian walked into the building. The design of the two buildings is basically the same. He started to check from the first floor. But this time, Lin Xian was dumbfounded. Because he checked from the first floor to the 8th floor. He even turned over the ceiling. Nothing was found. The strange thing is that Lin Xian clearly sensed that the danger was hidden in the building. Why can't he find it? Lin Xian resurveyed the entire building. He also specifically checked the first floor to see if there was a possibility of entering the underground. The result was still no. No entrance to the underground was found. After the third check was completed without results, Lin Xian stood outside the building. He closed his eyes to recall, analyze, and calculate. The area of a laboratory would not be too small, and a lot of equipment would have to be placed. This laboratory must also have living conditions, at least with living space for more than 10 people. Such a place must be at least more than 300 square meters, or even larger. After 3 inspections, the internal structure of the building has been imprinted in Lin Xian's brain, and an internal map has been drawn. He is trying to analyze where else in this building can the laboratory be hidden? No, it's impossible, it can't be done at all. Opening his eyes, Lin Xian had an incredible expression on his face. No. My thinking should have been misled. The other party should have used a method that people can't imagine. To hide this laboratory. This laboratory is definitely not a traditional laboratory. It's like people's homes. The first thing you think of is the area. For example, a 1-bedroom apartment is 50 square meters, and a 2-bedroom apartment is 100 square meters. So what is the formula for calculating the residential area? Calculate horizontally. Is it possible? Lin Xian raised his head suddenly. This laboratory is an upper and lower space. Its area seems very small, but the upper and lower spaces are huge. This is like changing a house from horizontal to vertical. Because only in this way can human thinking fall into misunderstanding. Would you think that traditional space does not exist in this laboratory? Get an area measuring ruler, Lin Xian ordered. In more than 10 minutes, someone brought the ruler. When everyone saw Lin Xian holding a ruler and began to measure the area of the entire building, they were all dumbfounded. It was like looking at a lunatic. What is this for? In half a day, Lin Xian not only measured the external area of the building, but also the internal area. Haha, you are playing this with your father, right? Lin Xian threw away the measuring ruler and sneered. Everyone? Lin Xian said word by word, the interior of the building is missing more than 3 meters of vertical space. How could it disappear? Because it was built up by someone, just like building a wall. A building was built away from top to bottom for 3 meters. And this missing area is the space on both sides of the building. Lin Xian, standing on one side of the building, sneered. Those windows with cold eyes that look like bathroom exhaust windows. Are you hiding here? Instant. Lin Xian ran up under the gaze of everyone and bounced instantly. He stretched out his hands and grabbed the second-floor window sill. With a little force, he stood on the window and punched. Bang, the window was shattered. But it was a fake window. There was a wall inside. This has confirmed Lin Xian's guess. He bounced again and grabbed the third-floor window sill. He broke the glass and it was another fake window. The 4th floor, the 5th floor, until the 6th floor. Before Lin Xian could punch. Bang, bang, bang. The terrifying gunfire suddenly appeared. The dense bullets shattered the glass and flew out. Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Found it? Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Xiong. Chapter 427. Facing the dense bullets, Lin Xian was not afraid, but smiled happily. The moment the danger appeared, he had already jumped into the air and avoided the window. Bang, his palm penetrated the outer wall between the 6th and 7th floors. The other hand had already grasped the gun and turned on the safety. The muzzle of the gun was pointed toward the window below. Bang, 5 shots per second. The gunshots outside the window stopped abruptly. A split second, less than 0.3 seconds. Lin Xian's figure entered the window like lightning. While in the air, his eyes moved rapidly to look around. 2 people, 1 shot, both white. The 2 of them were holding microflush, Steyr TP9 military version. This microflush is similar to a large pistol. The most exaggerated point is that it can be equipped with a special 100-bullet magazine. It is simply a special gun tailor-made for agents to make up for the lack of firepower. But the shot agent hadn't fallen down yet, and the micro-punch in his hand had already reached Lin Xian's hand. Bang, Lin Xian's feet stepped horizontally on the wall. Fire with a slight dash in your hand. Chug tug tug, 1 second, close to 15 rounds of bullets. All hit another agent in the body. There were numerous bullet holes from his head to his lower abdomen. It turned into a human hornet's nest. When Lin Xian fell to the ground. Chug tug tug. Another agent turns into a human hornet's nest. Lin Xian glanced at the slight rush in his hand. Thank you, poor guy, for sending me rockets. Ah no, bullets. He began to observe the space around him. It is less than 3 meters horizontally, more than 20 meters vertically, and 5 meters high. Walking to the end, Lin Xian saw the wall ladder. There are entrances and exits up and down. After listening for a while, Lin Xian looked down. Jump instantly. Bang, both feet hit the ground. Half squat, fall forward and lie down. Chug tug tug. The moment the gun rang out, the bullet cut through the space like lightning. With death, dense arcs were drawn on Lin Xian's head. The other party didn't expect it either. After Lin Xian comes down, he will lie on the ground and all the bullets will be empty. When they subconsciously aim again. Lin Xian rose into the sky. Flying up to 5 meters in the air, the body twists in the air. It was like a ferocious beast, leaning against the ceiling, its limbs instantly exerting force. There was a bang. Like a human-shaped cannonball, it bounced diagonally towards the 3 people who fired. Boom, click. Lin Xian's leg stepped on someone, and his bones cracked. Trample this person on the ground, crush him under your feet. Chug tug tug. Gunfire roared. The other 2 were beaten by bullets and fell down, shaking like chaff. It's just a senior agent, Lin Xian frowned in thought and noticed something unusual. Recall that a white agent told him that there were about 10 super soldiers following a certain senior executive? Lin Xian did not sense any warrior-level aura. But the bad premonition became more and more obvious. Lin Xian quickly ran up and went downstairs. 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor. Killed a dozen agents along the way. Finally go underground. The lab was found. The walls are white and flawless, and various experimental equipment and reagents are arranged in an orderly manner. The air is filled with a faint smell of disinfectant water, mixed with the smell of various reagents. Lin Xian also saw 8 scientific researchers wearing white coats. They are all yellow people, most likely from the Dragon Kingdom. He suddenly felt sick to his stomach. Disgusted. Is there anything in this world that is more disgusting than when you are defending your home and country while the people you protect are harming the country? Where is Professor Wang? Lin Xian looked at the people in front of him coldly. The 8 scientific researchers looked at each other and said nothing. Boom! Amidst the gunfire, a middle-aged man was shot in the head and fell down. Screams broke out. Shut up, Lin Xian scolded angrily. Almost everyone kept their mouths shut, but there was still a woman screaming. Boom! A bullet blew off the woman's head, and the scene fell silent. Now I ask a question and you answer it. If you don't answer, I will kill you until I kill you all. Lin Xian's icy cold gaze swept across the faces of these people one by one. Where is Professor Wang? He was taken away. A man in his 30s shouted quickly. One of the middle-aged men looked at the man. His eyes were slightly cold. Boom! Lin Xian shot him to death without hesitation. The rest of the people were scared, stupid, and trembling. Lin Xian's cruelty scared them to the point of pissing their pants. Where were you taken? Lin Xian continued to ask. We don't know either. He left yesterday. Another person answered. Lin Xian was startled and asked, did they take anything away? The laboratory fell into silence, and the 5 scientific researchers lowered their heads and looked pale. It's over. Did they take the virus with them? Lin Xian's face was ashen and he shouted in vain, how many viruses did they take away? Less than 8 kilograms. One researcher replied in a low voice with a trembling tone, we can only get so much. 8 kilograms. Lin Xian was slightly stunned, how many people can these viruses kill? The laboratory fell into eerie silence again. Lin Xian roared, say. 1, a city, or even more. Another person answered quietly. Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air and froze in place. Is this the legendary wind blowing the testicles cold? Yes, they are all going to be cold. Forcing himself to calm down, Lin Xian came back to his senses and exhaled, if it is poisoning, how to poison the whole city, how to spread it. Injection, swallowing, skin, water source. The researchers talked about it. Lin Xian listened and his eyes lit up. Got it? This virus needs direct contact with the human body to be effective. But it cannot be spread through the air. The most direct and effective way is water source. Lin Xian thought of the 6 victims in the 3 cases in this incident. They all died of poisoning after drinking mineral water. Water, Lin Xian's thoughts were spinning and boiling like a turbofan. Now that City C is closed, those people can't escape at all. They also know that the dragon people will find them sooner or later. So they must hide in a safe place. Even if they were found, the dragons dared not move their place. Because if this place was moved, it would inevitably poison the people of the whole city. Bang, gunfire exploded. The knees of the remaining 5 researchers were all broken. Lin Xian turned and left. He was too lazy to find an exit, so he went straight to the 6th floor, jumped out of the building from the window he came from, and landed on the ground with a cushion. He ordered Zhou Lai and others, close the water source of the whole city, search all major water stations, hydraulic pipelines, and water companies, quick. In less than half an hour, the water system of the whole city was shut down. Countless police, soldiers, special agents, checked the water supply, water source, and pipelines of the whole city. As a result, there was nothing. Could it be that they were not using the water source? Lin Xian was shocked. No, it should be water, only water. What kind of water is that? Lin Xian continued to think, analyze, and ponder. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration came to him, and he thought of some places. Damn. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 428. The night deepened. A large reservoir in City C, under the lights and moonlight, was like a huge mirror. The mountains in the distance and the woods nearby were blurred and hazy against the backdrop of the night. It seemed to guard this peaceful water, giving people an inexplicable sense of comfort. Lin Xian stood in a dark place, looking at the lush forest. He felt a breath of danger. The breath of the soldiers. There were 12 in total, indicating that there were 12 SAM super soldiers. Discovering them was equivalent to confirming that someone was hiding in the reservoir area. And these SAM super soldiers were on alert. They formed a fan shape, surrounding and guarding the entire reservoir. At this time, 30 figures stood behind Lin Xian. All lowered their heads, motionless like terracotta warriors. They exuded a unique breath. An oppressive, strong, and forbearing murderous aura. Lin Xian slowly raised his hand and waved it. Instantly. 30 heads were raised instantly, and 30 pairs of eyes opened slightly. They looked at Lin Xian with calm, plain, sharp eyes like swords. Those extremely hungry eyes, and their bloodthirsty mouths. Even Lin Xian couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. Because at this moment, 30 murderous auras gathered together and soared into the sky. Instantly. 30 figures ran in unison, but silently. It was as if the ground they stepped on was not a mountain, not a lawn, but a solid concrete ground. Like a pack of wolves, they ran towards the direction pointed by Lin Xian's palm. Target, 12 super soldiers of the United States. Lin Xian looked at the backs of these soldiers calmly. It was as if he was looking at a pair of peerless divine weapons unsheathed. It was more like looking at a pure killing weapon. This is a group of land war kings who spent a lot of money, countless experiences, and a lot of time to build. Is there any suspense? Using his supervision, Lin Xian looked at the forest. This is not a war. This is just a hunt without suspense. When this group of soldiers rushed into the woods, the hunt was over. There was no resistance, and there was no possibility of counterattack. When 30 soldiers attacked 12 super soldiers, a super soldier just reacted. A saber had already cut his throat. Then a light-sounding pistol with a silencer fired, spraying a subsonic bullet and piercing his forehead. When his body just fell, a pair of firm and powerful hands had already grabbed his body and gently placed it on the ground. These Dragon Country soldiers showed the world what close combat hunting is. Speed, speed, and speed. The first super soldier fell, followed by the second, the third. Screams appeared, roars rang out. It's useless, it's too late. Facing the charge of 30 combat soldiers, it was just a charge. That scene was like a raging flood hitting the dam. 12 super soldiers have been submerged. In less than 5 seconds, 12 super soldiers became corpses. Reservoir Management Center. It is a row of 3-story buildings with complete facilities. It can monitor all data of the reservoir around the clock to ensure that every drop of water is reasonably managed and used. But at this time, the entire management center has been hijacked, and all 5 night shift staff have been controlled. Not only are bombs installed on the dam, but there is also a special device placed in the water source. There is a huge container in the device, in which dark red liquid surges. If there is an electron microscope, you can find that there are more than hundreds of Gai creatures in these liquids. Gai. A unit of calculation. Its subordinates are Jing, Zhao, and Yi. Yi is the younger brother in front of Gai. What are those creatures? Do you remember the death process of 6 victims in 3 cases? Like being eaten by invisible monsters. They are those monsters, countless monsters. Terrible virus. Suppose, blow up the dam and release these viruses into the water source. Wherever the water source passes, it may flood the town or flow further. As long as it is touched by humans, there is only one end in the end. Devour the flesh and blood of any creature. In a control room, a blonde middle-aged man and an old man are standing in front of a window. Behind them are 4 SAM country special agents and 5 hijacked reservoir workers. Guess, will we die? The blond middle-aged man looked at the old man next to him with some teasing in his eyes. Wang Liangxiu. I just can't understand why you guys are so bad. Although Wang Liangxiu's face is weathered, it is full of calmness and composure. His voice is steady and powerful, and every word seems to carry the precipitation of years. Bad. The blond middle-aged man laughed, as if he had heard a funny joke. What is good and what is bad? Wang Liangxiu frowned and said nothing, but his eyes were deep and he looked at him coldly. Look at those who have ascended the throne, which one of them didn't have a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood under his feet? The blond middle-aged man raised a mocking arc at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes revealed deep contempt. Have you heard the story of Snow White? Do you think she is lucky? No. Snow White was released by the hunter who wanted to kill her because she was beautiful. It was also because of her beauty that she was saved by the 7 dwarfs. It was also because of her beauty that she was awakened by the prince's kiss in the end. Do you understand? The blond middle-aged man looked at the old man. When has kindness ever existed in this world, and what is evil? Even a fairy tale tells you that you have to be beautiful to be only if the princess can live. Can she be with the prince? The most ridiculous thing is that you dragon people actually put the giant's garden in the textbook. Why, you dragon people like to let others run into your home so much, and you are still teaching your descendants that if you don't open your home and don't let others in, you are selfish and a bad person. No wonder your dragon country is invaded again and again, and will be invaded again and again. Because you are generous, because you are not selfish, then who else can you invade? Ha ha ha. Wang Liangxiu was silent. Faced with these ridicules, he was speechless. But what does it matter? He always believed that good will be rewarded with good and evil will be punished with evil. For example, now, Wang Liangxiu's eyes are full of ridicule, and there is a sneer on his face, as if to say, you will definitely die. The blond middle-aged man stopped laughing. Do you think I will die? Otherwise. Wang Liangxiu sneered, do you think you can still survive? Why not? The blond middle-aged man stopped laughing. Who dares to kill me? Suddenly, a voice sounded. You are like a dog. Is it difficult to kill you? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 429. As the words rang out. Bang, 4 shots per second. All 4 SAM state agents were shot in the head and fell down, turning into 4 corpses. Seeing this scene, the blond middle-aged man's pupils shrank wildly. As if he saw something creepy, cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Then his neck felt like a rusty gear. He turned his head inch by inch and looked at the person who entered the room. Tall, handsome, and exuding a terrifying and bloody aura. The moment he appeared, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. It also made the blond middle-aged man feel an inexplicable fear in his heart. Lin Xian didn't look at him, but looked at the old man. Smile and nod, Mr. Wang, you have suffered. Wang Liangxiu was stunned and stared at Lin Xian blankly. Year 2008. He was framed by the kimchi country, and it was a dirty trick. Once when I was drunk, I woke up and found a starlet lying next to me. He was also photographed naked. Moreover, he inexplicably has an extra account in kimchi country. There is an account opened in his name with 30 million in it. The other party took out a document. It had his signature on it, a document joining the Kimchi Nation's intelligence agency. Look, is this kind of tactic indiscriminate? Wang Liangxiu surrendered. Don't talk about preferring death to surrender. Delay is the way to go. He wanted to see what the other person was up to. Result. He was secretly taken to Sam's military base in Kimchi. Entered a laboratory. It was discovered that these people were developing a virus. Viruses against humans, even viruses against yellow people. Genetic warfare agent. Many people believe that human race genes are kept secret. However, the truth is cruel. Just like people with the genetic bloodline of the Dragon Kingdom are everywhere in the world. Just grab a few, can't you study them? Do you think the genetic secrets of the people of the Dragon Kingdom can really be preserved? Impossible. Same thing. Countries around the world, including some superpowers, are actually studying the genes of all races. You heard it right, we are all studying it. It's just a matter of seeing who succeeds in research first. This kind of thing is like nuclear weapons. If you dare to take action first, no one will survive. Don't talk about human nature, and don't talk about morality. They are forcing you to study, otherwise you will die. Everyone else has atomic bombs, but you don't. Is this okay? When Wang Liang needs to discover the genetic warfare agent, he can't leave. A way to break it must also be found. Otherwise, yellow people may be finished at any time. After testing and research, detailed data was obtained. Wang Liangxue breathed a sigh of relief. He thinks too much. The other party seems to be researching genetic warfare agents against yellow people, but in fact it is just a virus. It is not only effective for yellow people, but also for other people of color. This virus looks very scary, but it has many flaws. Dealing with it is very, very simple. The people on the other side control him because he is the top expert in this area. The purpose is to perfect this virus and complete it. After that, Wang Liang needed to start concentrating on studying viruses, and cracking them. For 4 whole years. He successfully patched the virus, but didn't tell anyone. Then, he returned home. How could the people on the other side let him go? Because Wang Liang needed to use a conspiracy. It proves that this virus can only be successfully developed in the Dragon Kingdom. And this method is also very simple and funny. Mineral water from City C. Some people will say, how can this thing deceive people? What if I use this water and prepared a virus? It's infinitely close to completing the virus, how do you deal with it? If you can't figure out that there is something wrong with the water, it's your problem. Anyway, I just figured out that viruses can be made from this water. Do you want to complete the virus? I think, I have to go to City C and use the water from City C. So, in 2014, Wang Liang needed to return to China. But his wife, son, daughter-in-law, and granddaughter were all controlled. As long as he dares to be a little abnormal, he will be exterminated. Wang Liang needs to be patriotic. However, it does not mean that he will involve his relatives. There is nothing wrong with his thinking, he is a normal person. If you even kill your own relatives in order to protect your home and country. Does the country dare to use such people? For the next 2 years, he pretended to research and complete the virus. While starting to think of a solution. On the premise of not hurting your relatives, tell the news to Longuo. At the same time, in the past 2 years, he has also been working hard to crack the virus. It wasn't until 2016 that the opportunity finally presented itself. The success is high. This is a smart kid, very talented in virology. But, this is a selfish child. He is lustful, he loves money, and he is willing to betray the country at any time for profit. Wang Liangxue deliberately recruited Chen Gao as his disciple. He also deliberately told the Kimchi country spies that this person was very talented in virology and should be helpful in completing the virus. Later, arrangements were made for Chen Gao to go to Kimchi country. And being high is easy to control. He became a spy of the Kimchi country and became his disciple and assistant. Wang Liang needs to know. My plan can finally be implemented. Of course, it is after the cracking of the virus is researched. Because it is impossible without the cracking method. Even if the virus is incomplete, the damage to humans is terrifying. Only after it is completely cracked can Wang Liangxiu implement the plan. At that time, the cracking method will be informed to Longguo, so that it can be dealt with. January 2017. The cracking method is found. Wang Liangxiu used a little disgusting trick. Threatened his disciple Cheng Jiaoang to steal some completed viruses. Take it out of the laboratory. At the same time, he also poisoned Cheng Jiaoang. This kind of garbage cannot be left. Then Cheng Jiaoang took out the virus and injected mineral water. Killed 6 people. At that time, Wang Liangxiu had already thought about it. It doesn't matter, no matter how many people died, he would carry it. What if he went to hell? As long as he could save more people, he didn't care. But Wang Liangxiu never thought. Lin Xian appeared and said such a sentence. Wang Lao, you have suffered. What does this show? It shows that the country knows what he has done. They clearly know that he has killed people. But they still recognize him, approve of him, and think that he is right. In an instant, Wang Liangxiu's old eyes were filled with mist. A warm current emerged in his heart. It seemed that all the hard work and forbearance in the past years, and the constant wandering between life and death, it was all worth it. Lin Xian smiled and looked at the old man who was over 60 years old. Don't worry, leave the rest to me. Wang Liangxiu nodded heavily. Leave it to you. A strange sarcasm came from the mouth of the blond middle-aged man. Who do you think you are? Lin Xian turned his head and looked at him calmly. Did I let you speak? Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Xiong. Chapter 430. Carl was stunned, looking at the young man from Longguo not far away. He seemed to be looking at a psychopath. Then, he deliberately raised his hand. He held a detonator in his hand. He slowly unbuttoned his shirt, and a heartbeat-sensing detonator was attached to his chest. Finally, he stuck out his tongue. There was also a mini remote-controlled induction detonator on his tongue. Can you see clearly? Carl grinned. If you touch me, the bomb will explode, and then the dam will be blown up, and then the virus will cover the entire city along the water. No, it should be said that wherever the water passes, wherever it touches a living thing, it will die, and die miserably. Lin Xian still looked calm and indifferent. He raised his hand and took out a pistol. He pointed it at the blond middle-aged man in front of him. Bang, a shot. It broke Carl's elbow. Carl and Wang Liangxiu were both stunned. Followed closely. Ah! Carl screamed. I touched you. Lin Xian put down the gun. What can I do? Carl stopped screaming, and his whole body was shaking with pain. His eyes flashed with resentment, staring at Lin Xian, as if looking at a lunatic. However, he did not detonate the bomb and the virus. Because he didn't want to die? So you are afraid of death and dare not detonate the bomb. Lin Xian looked contemptuous and sneered. I thought you were a king of coercion, but it turned out to be a dog. Is there any point in playing psychology with me? Carl sneered. You should know very well that if you force me into a desperate situation, I will definitely do everything I can. Then what? Lin Xian's eyes were still so contemptuous and sarcastic. Carl was stunned, and he was sure that this is a complete lunatic. But he doesn't want to die. Don't forget to delay time to defuse the bomb. Carl grinned. As long as you touch it, the bomb will explode, and there are 2 other bombs in other places, and you won't find them. Because the 2 bombs are not here, right? Lin Xian looked uninterested. In other dams. Carl's expression froze. He looked like he had seen a ghost. How could he know? I know more about playing with people's hearts than you do. Lin Xian looked at him coldly. I forgot to tell you that my teacher is a master of psychology. Carl's face turned pale. For agents, of course, they know what psychology is. That is a compulsory course. They also know how terrible a master of psychology is. They are a group of ancestors who play with people's hearts. Do you think I'm a psychopath now? Lin Xian sneered. If I tell you that I have deduced countless possibilities before I came to see you, and I have deduced that I will not be in danger, even if the bomb explodes, it doesn't matter, what do you think? Carl's eyes widened, his eyes were dull, as if he was struck by lightning. Because Lin Xian's words were beyond his understanding. He was deeply shocked. Carl couldn't understand what Lin Xian meant by no danger and it doesn't matter if the bomb explodes. With your IQ, you are still fighting with me, are you qualified? Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. Have you ever thought about this question? In fact, the virus you are researching has been completed by Wang Lao a long time ago. Carl was shocked, his face full of disbelief. How is it possible? He turned his head instantly and looked at Wang Liangxiu beside him. A situation that he couldn't accept appeared. Wang Liangxiu was actually calm and smiled. What does this expression mean? Carl's heart was filled with endless anger and fear. He guessed right? See, am I right? While talking, Lin Xian was observing Wang Liangxiu. The reason why Wang Lao is still playing with you is actually, to crack this virus. This kind of thing is easy to reason. Since Wang Lao had already completed the virus, why didn't he notify Longguo in advance? The only possibility is that he is studying to crack this virus. Since Mr. Wang did not betray his country, he is patriotic. He certainly does not want to see the people of Longguo suffer, and does not want a large number of people to die from the virus. Since he notified Longguo to come to him and find the virus, that can only mean one thing. The virus has been cracked. This is Lin Xian's reasoning, and it is also his confidence. He dared to shoot the blonde middle-aged man directly. He has even deduced. Mr. Wang must have tampered with the virus in the dam. Even if the dam is blown up, there will be no problem. Why is he so sure? Because of the way Mr. Wang looked at the blonde middle-aged man. It was like looking at a dead person. Why did he conclude that the blonde middle-aged man would definitely die? Where did he get the confidence? Again, the virus has been cracked, there is no danger. If there is no danger, what can the blonde middle-aged man use to threaten Longguo? So, if he doesn't die, who will die? This is Mr. Wang's confidence. You see, is it all deduced? At this moment, Lin Xian looked at Carl as if he was looking at a dead person. Time froze at this moment. Carl stood there, eyes wide open, mouth slightly open. He is not stupid, but very smart. Otherwise, he would not have become a senior executive of the CIA. It is precisely because he is not stupid. He noticed something was wrong, and found out from the expressions of Lin Xian and Wang Liangxiu. He discovered a horrible fact. Those viruses are useless. Have they been tampered with by Wang Liangxiu? So, he thought I was dead? Carl's eyes gradually became empty and lifeless, and his face was full of despair and panic. It was not until this moment that he figured it out. Unfortunately, everything was too late. No. Carl's expression suddenly became twisted and hideous, and his eyes became extremely crazy, rampant, and resentful. Even if the virus is useless, what can it do? As long as the bomb can explode, we will still die, and you will all die with me. If the dam is blown up, it will flood the city and drown many people. So you hum your ass. Lin Xian stood in front of him as if in an instant. I have tolerated you for a long time. Instant. Or just a second. Lin Xian had a saber in his hand. Cut off Carl's limbs and broke his jaw. Took off the heartbeat sensing detonator on Carl's chest and stuck it on his own chest. At the same time, he also took away the detonators in Carl's hands and mouth. Finally, looking at Carl, who had lost his limbs and fell to the ground wailing like a meatball. "Smile, don't worry, you won't die. Someone will play with you slowly and make you want to live but not to, want to die but not to. No." Carl's eyes lost all color and hope, revealing endless despair. His world seemed to have completely collapsed. All hopes and plans were gone, leaving only despair and endless darkness.